Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Winter Americas. We have one last match in today's broadcast left for you guys, and it's going to be a juicy one. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Nathanius here.
What's up?
Desk. And I'm pretty excited because JonSnow had a really fun series versus Masa. Masa is a little bit silly sometimes when he comes up.
Masa's games are fun. I mean,
yeah,
he just kind of does whatever, and it always seems to work.
You know, people will say, like, oh, Nate, you're neglecting the practice of Masa. No, actually, Masa does do whatever, and he is one of those players that actually shows up and says, you know, I think this is going to be a cool thing to do. And actually, a great example, Masa was on a really great show, YouTube series that you guys can check out by Katz called The Breakdown, and Katz would ask him, okay, so you were building a Hellion over here, and then you cancel it and build a Widow Mine. Why? I was like, well, the Zerglings went up the ramp, saw that if it was a Hellion or a Widow Mine, that it would have popped out by then. So because they thought, Scarlet at the time, who was the opponent, thought it was going to be a Widow Mine, I just canceled the Hellion and built a Widow Mine instead because that wouldn't make sense, so she wouldn't expect it. Masa just does stuff like that because he's like, you know what? On the spot, I think this will work. I think this is a good idea. But, of course, going up against Astrea, showed some really cool builds as well, had the cool pressures that he was able to do versus Mio Micah, and going into the same matchup, I know he has a bunch of other builds also prepared, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got.
Yep, very interested to see, because Astrea had definitely showed a little bit of promise in this group today, and I feel like he's very doable. This is a very doable match for him to be able to get out. So let's see. I'm just curious to see what he's ready to do. We're going to tell the admins that we're ready. Get this match underway. Game is counting down as we look into our final match of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've been having a good time. I've been checking out the chat. I mentioned coffee pastas, and I tried to talk in the chat. Everybody was speaking in Control V. It was difficult. Strange. I was in a place that didn't speak English, Fear Dragon. So many passionate StarCraft meme lords.
It happens. It happens sometimes. But, of course, let's jump into King's Cove for map number 1. Introduce the players. Starting up here at the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player. He is Max Angel. Also known as Astrea. You know, the other name that he's known by.
Other Protoss.
Team Alpha X, by the way.
Yep. His opponent in the bottom right, our red Zerg player representing Storm Gaming. He is JonSnow. $51K in prize money earned while being a diligent college student. I've seen him bringing his laptop and doing his homework at events before, where he also is doing some great work and actually making some deep runs in tournaments like Cheesadelphia. Good work ethic from that kid. Very good kid. Yeah. A lot of these guys working hard while they're trying to pursue that esports dream, Fear Dragon.
It's not easy.
Tough one. It's a tough mountain that many men try to climb. Most fall off. This isn't like the real world where you can hire those dudes that basically just carry you up for you. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, well, thankfully,
Even
it's also not like the real world
either. Yeah.
To be fair, it's also not like the real world where if you fall off, you die. they do have a transition in life set
Have
up.
you met a StarCraft hardcore player?
That is fair. You know, some people do take their losses pretty seriously. But I do want to note, Astrea going for the Nexus first this game. Just saying, okay, you know, JonSnow, I know that he likes to mix it up with some early cheeses. He likes to mix it up with some early pressure and stuff occasionally, but it is definitely more rare. I think JonSnow likes that safe standard play. That's how he got the name Consistent Snow, is that he plays really safe and standard and actually does a lot less of the kind of cheesy mix-ins these days.
I still like to see it every now and again.
Yeah, I think he's one of the players that will do a cheese. You know, there's the different levels of cheesers. Like Neeb, for example, is a good example of a player who will mix in a cheese maybe one every 10 to 15 games or something. I would say JonSnow's around
20 for Neeb, but
15 to 20. Yeah, 15 to 20. That would also take that. And then you have players like Haas, who's like, okay, one every 2 games will be a cheese,
Yeah.
and the other
It
game
also
will be a different cheese.
But then you get into the weird area where you're talking about what defines cheese. There are people who think that like a 2-base all in with like.
I can't believe you
Orca pull or
cheesed me on your
something.
4
How
base
would you-
Protoss
how could you
17-minute
cheese me?
all in.
Like, well, the idea of a cheese is that it's supposed to hit so fast that you can't scatter. That's like the whole point of it. You know, a cheese is the TLO build where you put your SCV on the bottom of the ramp to expand, and then as soon as the enemy worker leaves because your Marine pops out, you build 5 racks, right? Like that's a cheese. But
Yeah.
I don't really feel like Neeb's I don't remember the last time he actually did like a cheese. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got the third base going down for JonSnow. Stargate is done. It's going to be an Oracle before Phoenix. So what he is saying is, I want to get across the map as fast as possible. I'm not really trying to hide anything, because if he was, he would want to get a Phoenix, let him and the Stalker could blow that Overlord up just a little bit quicker.
Yep. Astrea also got up a fast Zealot as well, so really playing it safe versus any potential all-ins that could come just because of his Nexus first. Stalker will work away at that Overlord as well, try and shut down some of that map vision. I want to note there is not another Overlord anywhere nearby, but the Lings are going to scout the third base, kill off that probe, while the Adept is trying to get some minor scouting information on the other side of the map. I think the Adept has actually retreated all the way back home after just confirming the third base. He should be able to defend this no problem.
My God. Is he using the Diva announcer?
He does use the Diva announcer.
It's so weird, is it?
Pig is another big advocate of the Diva announcer, and he says he does it because he knows how much it annoys people.
He knows how much it annoys people. He likes to mess that canon. He's like the one character that you can have in his announcer that has nothing to do with StarCraft, you know what I mean?
This is true.
+1 melee attack on the way for JonSnow. It's going to beef up those Zerglings.
Okay. Usually if you're going to continue to invest in those melee upgrades, we end up seeing a Baneley nest eventually being thrown down, which could be an interesting style depending on what Astrea is going to be going for. As he adds on a couple more gateways. We haven't seen the fault. Whoa, okay. We have the... I'm always not sure when I see the Void Ray coming out from a Protoss player, because I'm like, is this just a safety Void Ray? Are you concerned about a big Roach flood or something?
I like the safety Void Ray. I always like the safety Void Ray. It's like a warm blanket, you know?
I guess now that I think about it, he didn't really go for okay. Well, I was about to say he didn't really make the Sentry Warp in when Warp Gate finished, but there it is. So he's gonna have energy to hallucinate a Phoenix and scout out. The Oracle's continuing to scout out as well, as if he doesn't need the hallucinate Phoenix scout with the Oracles. So yeah, it's sort of interesting. The Safety Void Ray feels to me like
it's just the Protoss equivalent of wearing your seatbelt, Fear Dragon. It's not that crazy.
Yeah, but. Okay, no, I can't use that metaphor because I'm never going to encourage people to not wear their seatbelt.
There you go. That's right. I win.
Damn it.
The Oracles are going to shark around the map. Lings can't do anything, right? If you think about it, with the 2 Oracles with this much energy, you're not worried about Lings. So what's the only thing that could really get you? If you just, like, didn't realize a bunch of roaches came to your base. Voila, the safety Void Ray at your service. So he's got mostly everything in check. The Spire is going to start up on the other side of the field with the Hydralisk Den. And that +1 melee finishes, but as we were talking about, there's not a crazy amount here for them to get to. I guess these couple of pylons between the bases are annoying. Why not wall that off? Now I'm curious. Ooh, good force field.
Wall which off?
Why not try to block the ramp here?
This side?
Yeah. Why not turn that into...
Well, I mean, you start off with a wall over here because if you try and block that ramp, then the third base location on this map
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to
open.
hold position a unit on both bases, couldn't you...
I guess you
Couldn't
could
you put
wall
a-
off again later here.
With that gateway, couldn't with one pylon you keep the Zealot held there? I don't know.
I think
Maybe
you
I'm
need
crazy.
2 pylons.
Maybe I'm just
Or a
insane.
gateway.
Maybe I'm just insane, Fear Dragon. I don't know.
Well, we already know you are insane, but we love you for it.
Thank you.
It takes an insane man to make as many battlecruisers as you make.
No argument from me.
Spire is going to be finishing up here for JonSnow with +2 melee on the way. Sure, he's got a couple of Hydras coming out, but those Mutas, I imagine that he's going to be going for, will potentially catch Astrea very off guard. Astrea does have 7 Stalkers out, and actually, hold on, have the Oracles actually never made, no, they never made their way to the natural. That's what I thought. 1 Muta and a Dream.
Yep. Well, if the Muta's blindside hard enough, and it's really bad to just build 1, by the way, because that's how you let the opponent know that you have Mutas. He did get the Revelation off on those eggs.
Oh, yeah, that's one of those eggs is a Mutalisk.
So you should be able to see it. The egg itself is not Revelation.
No, it's not Revelation.
But the units nearby it should reveal it if he's looking.
Well, the Muta going to kill the Oracle is a pretty big reveal.
Yeah. Or is he just... Is that it? Was that the whole strategy? I'm going to build a Muta to push back the Oracle and maybe a... You know what? That's actually great.
That's a
mind
bait-
games,
that's a
though.
bait
You're like,
switch.
man, he's building a spire. There's the first Muta. All right, the batten down the hatches. The air assault is coming. But the reality is, the Muta there is just to push everything in the sky away.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, he's not falling for it, by the way. He's still building Colossi.
He is
He's
building-
extended thermal lance, charge, all that. He's not panicking like there's an air switch coming.
He's building very minimal defenses against potential mutas. He's building some photon cannons at some of the bases. He's got a shield battery at his third, and that's where his army's positioned. Because he's defending his natural, his third, and his fourth, he feels like his main base is just going to be safe because his army is just kind of zoning out the mutas.
Yep, we got Hydras on the way with Lings. I love this, putting the Stasis Sport out. Fear Dragon. Personal side note, I'd love to see skins for the Stasis Sports as well. All right?
What kind of skin would you like to see for a stasis trap?
Oh, man. I don't know.
Like a Rubik's Cube?
Yeah. That would be awesome.
And the Rubik's Cube solves itself when it finally sets itself off?
Fear Dragon. Oh, my goodness. It's the greatest idea I've ever heard. It looks exactly like...
Actually,
a Rubik's
what
Cube.
if you could even have like a war chest stasis? Like it actually looks like
A
a
literal war chest
It's a
stasis.
literal war chest.
Yes.
Open the door war chest is a doozy after all.
Our show's running a little long today.
it
I'm a little
has
tired.
run a
We're
little bit
having
long.
fun.
We've had some crazy games in Americas as well.
Yeah.
Between that Masa series, Astrea busting
I'm
out some
gonna have
funny
fun.
strats.
Fear Dragon. He's building a second Mutalisk.
He's like, look, we need to make sure we keep
Dun,
selling
dun.
the story. So we're going to build a second Mutalisk. And look, the instantaneous reaction, not even scouting the second Mutalisk, the second Stargate comes down, the fleet beacon, +1 air weapons. No.
Well,
Astrea is actually looking about the...
I was going to say, there's never a bad time for the fleet bacon.
Yeah.
I mean, the mothership as well is also always
Well,
really good to have.
There is a bad time for the fleet bacon, and it is when you don't have enough to defend against an earlier attack, which is what I actually do think is going to be a big
Whoa.
concern.
Was that
That was intentional. He
that
blunked.
3,000 IQ blink? The Baneling's running from him, but he blinks into its range so that it detonates without him unmicring the I don't know.
That's, yeah, that was sick.
That's nice.
Well, Astrea does have a pretty scary-looking ground force, so this is by no means just a super unsafe tech out and do Stargate tech. I mean, for example, Fleet Beacon's finishing up, but Astrea's maxed out on his ground force. He's just preparing for the eventual transition after this army kind of trades out if it isn't able to get some
The
damage
thing
done.
is, this many Colossi, it's like you have to go air as Zerg to deal with this, right? So the natural transition for the Protoss is to prepare for that by investing into your own air to counterattack that. The Bane train
Ooh.
crashes into a bunch of Stalkers.
Was that the trade he wanted, though? He got a lot of Stalkers, sure, and
He's about to
guess
abduct
that's nice.
every Colossus, and there's no high Templar feedback.
If Astrea actually fought this, though,
With the force field still there, it looks
Yeah.
very weird. I'm not comfortable anymore. He can actually still force field again. That was very awkward. Very, very, very good fight there for Astrea. I don't.
Yeah.
My brain's still trying to figure out what just happened, but
it's
good for the Protoss. I'm gonna say
There are
that.
so many Colossus that I actually feel like if all the Colossus are firing, even if they get pulled, sure, one or two of the Colossus end up dying. I actually don't think it's the worst fight in the world there for Astrea.
Nope, not at all.
So Ling
Right.
run by over by the fourth base does get cleaned up. pretty
Photon
quickly.
cannons are great. Good to have multiple of them as well. Carriers are coming in. I really want to see +2.
Quickly, stop the banelings with our bodies.
We have to.
We did it, team.
If we suicide into the kill bot, we'll set off its limit.
Yeah, banelings do have a kill limit of 1. No, I actually already tried to make that joke,
He's
and then I
getting
realized
+2. He's getting +2 air. This is important. I think this is really important. He's getting 2 more Stargates. Carriers really don't start
That's
rolling
4 now,
until
right?
you get to that +2 air weapons.
Yep,
We'll have
2
4 Stargates total.
4 on the way. And JonSnow, so far, he is adding on a few of these Corruptors. He's finished up his Greater Spire, so he can morph in Broodlords, but at this point, with the Stargates coming on up, he has to be careful not to morph in too many of those Broodlords. That can be the critical trap Zerg players fall into, where they say, yeah, I can just make a bunch of Broodlords. And then suddenly the air army comes, you're like, oh, I actually don't have Corruptors anymore to kill this. Whoops.
Yep.
Catches a bunch of the Zealots, going for a run by.
I think Astrea is doing everything he needs to do. I feel like the only thing that he really wants to do at the moment while he builds this up is just try to safety void ray.
Oh my god, safety void ray. Almost getting a kill on the hatchery. That would have been sick, but the Stalkers just blink forward,
There you go.
finish it off.
Wouldn't have been possible without the safety void.
Without, you know, I take back everything I said 8 minutes ago about the safety void ray.
There you go.
Okay, Fritz. Okay.
Whoa!
Ooh, a bit of a move command there, and we end up seeing, ooh, Neural Parasite on some of these units. But the recall still comes off, and he saves only 2 of the High Templar, or sorry, yeah, 2 High Templars and 2
I
Colossus.
think those were just broken Viper tongues. He doesn't have any investors. They're just broken Viper tongues. He tore the power
the
of
muscle?
recall. It tears the Viper's tongue. Yes. Do not attempt to put your tongue into the Bifrost to chase something. It's a bad idea.
That was actually the secret of how they truly defeated Hela from Thor.
Yeah, that's actually happened in the first 5 minutes.
They just put a popsicle in front
I
of
want
her.
to see an Ultralist get decapitated trying to chase through
Why has
recall.
nobody in the Marvel universe
axiomatic.
tried to just kill someone through using like the Bifrost and only teleporting half of their body?
Doesn't happen enough. Doesn't happen enough. Does grab one of the carriers there. 3 more are about to finish. We do have +2 shields on the way. Biggest thing with the carriers is that they take forever to build the interceptors, and they don't start with full interceptors. So carriers don't come out and, like, you know, the X gonna give it to you theme starts blasting as they blow everything apart. Like, they need time.
And they also take time to release the interceptors. So the longer they're involved in the fight, as long as the interceptors are staying alive, if they have a target to sort of unleash on slowly, then they're going to be really, really scary. JonSnow going to try and jump on this army before the interceptors are out.
Needs the Archons to get onto those Corruptors to keep the carriers alive. The focus fire is coming in from JonSnow, but Archons do land a few good volleys, and Astrea will live to fight another day. He has
remember,
4 carriers in production,
and
plus 3 attack on the way.
It's not even just that. He's also got a pretty healthy economy going, with the center base being the newly established one. He's got another base in the bottom left that's going up, and he was able to deny one of JonSnow's bases. He's putting on some Zealot harassment, taking out some of these workers. Astrea, I feel like, is really setting himself up for a super strong late game.
Yep, I like it a lot. And I mean, you know, the biggest thing is, even though he doesn't have a bank, as you said, he has so many bases. His economy hasn't really been hindered recently at all. There goes that single Muta.
Whoop, whoop. We found the second value for it. Only 17 workers dying, thanks to that Mutalisk. A few more are going to die over. The Mutalisk still has some
I'm
work
sure
to
the
do.
Muta will be over there in no time.
Ooh,
Hallucinated safety void rays. Was he trying to get like a bait abducts or something insane?
He is.
If he abducts a hallucination. Oh my goodness.
That would have been pretty sick. They're gonna kill the void. They're gonna kill the Spore Crawler. He warped in an Overseer. Oh no.
It's like, you know what? You can have those 2 Zealots. You can have that whole base there.
Don't worry, this Queen has got this on lockdown. One of the Zealots goes down. The Queen's dead.
And no. Yeah, okay, big fight happening.
Yep.
Storms drop.
Whoop.
He backs in on the Vipers.
Oh my god, those storms on the Corruptors are insanely good. And once those are gone, it just Hydras.
Oh, that storm in the Hydras.
Okay, well,
full storm.
the carriers do have to back up because a lot of interceptors dying.
There's only 4 interceptors.
This is where all of those cannons really start to come into play, though, because they buy a bit of time for more of those interceptors to start to be remade.
And I think you got to warp in like a big wave of Zealots. Although I guess he's spending all his money on interceptors now. So
I actually think it's okay just to wait for some of these cannons to die, build a little bit more time, and because this isn't that many Hydras, right? It's a decent number, but versus +3 air weapon carriers, once they get up another wave of interceptors, he's good. Well, he's going to lose the base.
It's still dicey. He still only has 21, 23 interceptors now. That many carriers.
That's true. They do build slow.
Yeah, he could have 56. So
Dark Shrine on the way. That would actually be really useful in these kind of situations here, just to buy a bit of extra time. This base is pretty important. If Astrea ends up losing both of these bases...
You can't. He's got to fight. You got to make a stand here. This is really important right now.
Oh, if he's making a stand versus all the units on the right-hand side, that means the Hydras are actually still working away at that Nexus. JonSnow going to be losing a lot of his army.
Yeah, well, that's the consequence, right? JonSnow wants to guarantee the kill in the Nexus, so he's like, okay, I'll fight with half my army at a time, which I think opens up the window for Astrea to then turn around and be like, all right, now I'll kill the rest of your army, and GG is called. Astrea does it. Goes up 1-0 over JonSnow.
Well done. Astrea just securing that lead and being able to keep bringing it out further and further, getting up to the carriers. The super quick transition. He was so ready to move into the next stage of that game before JonSnow was even.
Yeah, that was really well done. I feel like he did everything that he needed to do, right? His opening looked good, looked solid.
Didn't overreact to the one Muta.
Didn't overreact to the one Muta. And you could really tell that he was just dotting all of the I's and checking across all the T's. Because the way that he goes with the 2 Oracles without any Phoenix, and he's like, well, there's really only one thing that I could take damage from when I take this fast third now that I have all these Oracles. And he didn't really spend their energy was another thing.
Yeah.
In that early game stage, when he builds the safety Void Ray, and he's like, well, my Oracles both have like 60 energy. So these will fry infinite Zerglings underneath my third. And I just really looked like a very well laid out game plan from him.
Yeah, absolutely. JonSnow looked like he was trying to do either some mind games there by going for the melee upgrade and going for a lot of these lings and trying to get some damage done there. The banelings also trying to do some run-bys and stuff, but not actually. I guess he did get one big run-by where he killed off 12 workers. But then also trying to go for the Spire and going for the Hydra Den, making a lot of the Hydras, and then eventually getting Corruptors and stuff. But it really did seem like JonSnow was a bit all over the place. I think it maybe would have worked out if he had been able to keep that base alive, but losing that base, losing the economy, you do lose your opportunity to kind of spread yourself so thin on tech.
Yeah. You have to be extremely careful every step of the way. We are loaded into game number 2. Astrea versus JonSnow. You guys are watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series, and we continue here on Port Alexander. In the bottom right, our blue Protoss leading the series 1-0. He is Astrea.
And on the other side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Storm Gaming. His name is JonSnow. You know JonSnow has the same shoes as me, and
Why do
has
you
for
know
about
that?
4 years.
Why do you know that? Why is this?
Because we compared shoes.
Why do they? Are they at least like popular shoes? Are they like we both got the same?
They were the
limited
same
run?
Vans, I think.
Oh,
Actually, I think there was
Oh, right.
These are these Vans, actually. I think
Yeah,
we
you're
all
right.
3 of us have the same shoes.
Okay, yeah. You're those people. That's fine.
I'm pointing at my shoes to Nate, by the way.
That's fine. It's
You don't
rigid.
recognize people that have the same shoes as you? I feel like that's a memorable thing.
No, that's not true. Actually, I bought my sneakers because of Smix. Smix got me on.
There you go, guys. There's
that
your
Ultra
factoid.
Boost game.
Nate has the same
Nate and
sneakers.
Smix were the
as-
same sneakers. The truth is out there.
Confirmed same person.
Yeah.
Why do you think we never see the desk host and the stage host at the same time? Except when we do.
Because sometimes you can only fit one pair of shoes in your luggage for both people to use. It's difficult. It's a tough life. Who would have guessed Smix also wears size 11, right?
So, last game, we ended up seeing Astrea go for
There's a fast Stargate.
the
It's a
fast
2 Oracle,
Stargate.
Safety Void Array with a quick third.
I would love to see Astrea throw out some of those kind of cheekier attacks earlier on that's maybe not off the Stargate. Because I really feel like that. Ooh, drone pull? No, not able to get the probe. I was going to say, that's one of the scariest things about Astrea is I think he has a lot of these weird timings that he likes to move out with units. It really reminds me of Huck, for those who remember. Huck used to do these really weird attacks where he would just show up at his opponent's base, and his opponent would just always constantly be like, wait a second, what? Who? No one moves out at this
random
time.
gate. It was the random gate.
The random gate, yeah.
Yeah, because some people would be like, Huck can do 8 gates, but then he started doing random gate, where it's like, oh, it's just 3, haha, or 2 gate push.
Yeah.
And you would just never know when it was coming.
I feel like Astrea is really good at and these are, of course, pre-designated and pre-planned kind of plays from Astrea, but he has so many attacks that just hit at weird times that Zerg players aren't used to. So I'm really happy he's actually opening up with the Twilight Council this game. Has a Stalker on the way behind this, so he can push back that single Overlord and deny the Scout. See the Robo. This very well could just end up being a boring old Archon drop. But no, there's Charge. Ooh, could we see the same build we saw versus Mio-Micah? So the build for they did versus Mio-Micah, for those who missed out on that, he went for a 4-gate charge lot attack. But here's the thing. He warped in 4 Zealots and waited for the warp gate to finish up, or the cooldown to come down. Warped in another 4 Zealots, shows up with 8 Zealots and a Warp Prism, which for a lot of Zerg players can be a scary moment where you say, oh god, this is 8-gate charge lot. And he also shows up with a second Warp Prism. He continues a little bit of aggression, but doesn't actually commit. Pulls back, and about a minute and a half later, he does add on 4 more gateways. Goes into an 8-gate charge lot attack with a few Immortals.
Ravi, trying to understand what you just said. has
I said a
given
lot of
me
numbers.
Headache. I have a headache now. Thank you, Ravi.
I'm so glad. You know, that is the purpose of this build. It's to give this
It is,
player
though.
a headache.
It is.
It actually is.
I was actually just, you know, I was throwing you the alley-oop there. No, you're right. The point of doing something like that would be to really confuse your opponent. It's kind of like when you take all your gases and your natural really fast, but then you don't mine them at all, and you only like fake mine it when the Overlord comes in to die. So you really sell them on this Zealot thing, and you're like, okay, well now I have enough gas for like a few Stalkers if I need it, but it's mostly just Zealots.
So if there were an Adept making its way across the map with the 2 Adepts, a couple of Roaches are nice. I don't actually think it's just going to be the Adepts, though. It's the 4 Zealots warped in. Astrea going to wait around for another warp in, I think, maybe? No, actually decides to move in.
With the Templar Archives, I don't think he really intends to. I do think that
Yeah.
this is meant to spark fear in the Zerg, that he's like, oh my god, there's a Prism and Charge Zealots already.
Well, I think he got the Temple Archives in the other game as well, and he eventually even had Storm for the final push that he did versus Miomaika. So this still could be that, but he's not making any Immortals. He's not getting a second War Prism. This is still a scary attack. You can see that JonSnow, he had a few Roaches, but 7 Roaches versus 7 Charge Lots. The Charge Lots actually win that.
He's going to let it fight there.
Oh,
And look at this.
nice micro.
Look at this try-hard Zealot pickup micro. I'm just kidding. It's a really amazing play.
Oh!
Hard to do. Does save the hatch.
Big target for later, though, and I think a few more transfuses will be helpful. JonSnow just waiting for the transfuse heal over time to expire, I think, maybe to throw down another transfuse.
It's amazing to think that transfuse is still so good, even though they basically reduce its effectiveness by a large margin as well.
It's still very, very useful.
It's really like the big nerf for it, I guess, was mostly when you're trying to spam it on one unit.
It
like,
was,
really
yeah.
quickly. That's where it kind of sucks now.
It was heal over short time that was nerfed. Heal over long time is still fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not actually seeing any more transfuses coming down, so just going to build Evo chambers there. And just start to create a little bit of a wall off maybe, so the Charge Lots have a harder time moving in. But this is still going to be a big 2-base attack from Astrea. He adds on 4 more gateways, gets up an Immortal, gets up the second Warp Prism that he's actually doing some damage with in the main base.
Great grab on that Observer.
Yep.
I love it. I love the double Prism.
Oh, it was a Storm drop maybe. Did he? No, he doesn't have. Yeah, he does have Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kills 4
He
workers with
just,
it.
yeah, just did a cheeky little Storm drop. Injured a lot of the other drones. And he's got his third Nexus on the way. This is like one of those really fancy, super cool trick shot type builds where you look really awesome, but then you make one mistake, you fall flat on your face, and it's like, there you go, like you can never actually do this build again.
I call those Liquid Hero builds because every single time you used to watch Liquid Hero back in the day, you'd be like, wow, this is so cool. The Colossus drop and all of this crazy micro with the Warp Prism. And then you try it and you lose the Warp Prism with the Colossus. It's like, oh, actually, I didn't have a gateway unit.
Hero also lost a lot of those games as well.
Yeah.
He would have some like ridiculous micro with a Warp Prism, and everyone's like, oh my god, so amazing. And it's like, meanwhile, Lenok has 40 roaches in each of his bases. Like, oh yeah, Hero loses again.
Yeah, I feel like Puck has also had a lot of those kind of builds, but Puck has also become a little bit more standard and rounded out his consistency.
Well, that's the weakness of doing fun strategies, though. That's always the biggest weakness, is that they are also susceptible to just very dedicated attacks from the opponent.
Yeah, speaking to the guy who makes Mass Blink Dark Templar, and I will tell you that they do die pretty quickly if you're out of position.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Okay, the Warp Prism.
His Prism play has been really nice, though.
He's been doing a great job with the control here, and I think he
still has both Prisms alive at the moment as well.
Is the other Prism out on the map? No, the other Prism did return back home, probably helping out.
You drop off the low energy High Templar, maybe pick up 2 new ones. I don't know.
Ooh, that would actually be a sick play. Cycling them out. Third base is now mining. There's a single Ling that's going to move over. Be kind of annoying. Astrea got to deal with that, but he warps in more Zealots. I think this is only one of the Warp... there's the second Warp Prism. He's still got the High Templars inside, which are going to be pretty safe in there.
I love it. I love it. I love the double Prism usage.
Can't get EMP'd anymore, Nate.
Yeah.
That's not pros first turn.
I was going to make the PBT comparison.
Whoa!
There's the drop in the back. The Templar Storm. Oh, I love it.
Loses the High Templar, though, and these Roaches still handling the Zealots pretty well. There's an Immortal over here that's helping out.
And normally you're super desperate to kill that Warp Prism, but there is another one in the back. So.
Yeah. Oh my god, the splash damage from these Archons is also so sick. These are Roach kills.
Wow, GG, Astrea. Oh, baby.
I love that build.
Ooh.
That is a sweet build that I would never, ever try and attempt to do on the ladder.
That looked awesome.
Wow.
Oh, goodness.
Amazing.
Astrea just made some fans in the stream right there.
Oh, absolutely,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
It's the same kind of thing that he did versus Mio Micah, but it is still a scary build to hold off against. It actually reminds me a little bit of stuff we were talking about with Raynor, where the solution is you have to micro on both fronts really, really well, and if you can't, then you actually start losing a lot.
Yeah.
It's actually not a like, oh, well, I just build 15 spine crawlers and this is defended. It's like, no, actually,
No.
you need to hold this well with a minimal number of units.
What a treat. What a treat of a PVZ, actually. Extremely crisp, clean play out of Astrea. I loved it. I love watching his play there. It was really good.
But wow, consistent Snow getting knocked out in the first group stage here. It's not something that I think a lot of people would have expected given the name recognition for JonSnow. Astrea, though, pulling off a bit of an upset there. And I was saying, I think he is possibly one of the most underrated players in North America right now. He's going to be moving on to the next group stage, so congratulations to him. Going to be, of course, putting up some really good games, I think, there.
Yeah,
hopefully.
can't wait to see what he brings to the table, ladies and gentlemen, as we have reached the conclusion of our group, Fear Dragon.
Yeah. It was a little sad. I knew that this moment was coming eventually. But let's go ahead and recap the day. We can still relive the day one more time.
Adventure.
Yeah. Of course, through the Americas broadcast, we had Masa advancing out in first place with some really cool memes as well. Had a lot of those Banshees sniping off Queens and Hatcheries. That was a lot of fun.
Viking Hellion versus
the Viking run-bys on drones was pretty sick. That was pretty amazing. And of course, Astrea also advancing on out off of some killer PvZ action. Well done. And of course, JonSnow and Mio Micah, unfortunately, going to get knocked out of WCS Winter. We will see them later on in the year. Hopefully. Hopefully with JonSnow. I don't think he had plans to retire, so.
No, I would hope not.
Well,
He's still very
just
good.
because he was starting work and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think that we're also going to just recap the European group.
Yep, we did the European group earlier today, and, I mean, everyone loves Raynor.
Raynor, I think, was a big favorite to make it out of the group, and he did it in exactly the style you would expect. He absolutely dominated his matches. DNS put up a good fight, did make it out in second place as well. Soul and Marine Lord, unfortunately, not able to make it out, although I do think that both of them showed good games in at least one of their series. Soul had a great series, or 2 series versus DNS, and Marine Lord had a pretty cool TVT as well.
Yeah, DNS played some really good PVT today. Very, very solid, very strong. Awesome matches. Don't worry, though. Did you guys think it's over? There's more tomorrow and the next day. And then we start again next week. Lots of StarCraft coming up.
Yep. Tomorrow's group, we got Cyril, we got Namshar, we got Ziggy, and actually, apparently we got the graphic for it. Cyril, Namshar, Ziggy, and Soul Spirit. This is going to be a fun group. Soul Spirit, a name that I think a lot of people may not recognize, but he is one of the kind of up-and-coming names in the European scene. Unfortunately, he does get matched up against Cyril first, so that is...
a lot of Zergs. We'll be doing a lot of ZvZ tomorrow.
Optimistically... I mean, if you beat Cyril as your big breakout performance, I mean, everyone will remember your name for 10 years at least.
Yes, that's true. If he was to beat Cyril tomorrow, nobody would ever forget it.
Yeah, that would actually become unforgettable.
In the book about Cyril's rise and then eventual fall, he would be like, that would be it. It'd be like, after the climax, it'd be like the next chapter, it'd be like, Soul Spirit.
Yeah. Of course, we also have the Americas happening tomorrow as well, as I believe that it's going to be Seether, our Australian Terran player, facing off versus TLO. And that's going to be our German Zerg player that's actually staying in Canada.
He lives in Canada now. He moved there.
And, of course, it's also going to be Silky and Coffee. Silky, an American Zerg player, and Coffee, I believe, Taiwanese?
That'll be a fun match.
Should be
That's a fun group. I like that group a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, guys, same time tomorrow. Please make sure you enjoy the rest of your day. And we hope to see you with more StarCraft action.